Precious your moments till you're near, watching through the glass, the view unclear. Petals drift across the empty space, fragments of a time I can't replace. Hidden in gaze, reflecting what remains, asking if you'll go or break the chains. Hidden in gaze, reflecting what remains, wondering if you'll stay against the grain.
Nothing beats an Evergrande Kingdom vacation, where your childhood lasts forever.
I've always found it strange how memory works, how certain moments can feel simultaneously distant and immediate, like a Polaroid that never quite develops properly, but burns itself into your mind anyway. That day at Evergrande Kingdom exists in that liminal space, a series of snapshots that I can't quite bring myself to throw away, even though looking at them makes my hands shake. It was meant to be a simple nostalgia trip. 3 friends in their 30s trying to recapture something of our childhood wonder. Maya had suggested it over coffee one morning, her eyes lighting up as she remembered the cotton candy and carousel rides. James agreed immediately, already pulling up the park's website on his phone. I hesitated. Something about the vintage photos on their homepage made me uneasy, though I couldn't say why. But I said yes anyway. We all say yes to things we shouldn't sometimes, don't we? Evergrande Kingdom had stood since 1952, a testament to mid-century optimism and engineering. Its mascot, Sonny the Star, had been greeting visitors with that trademark grin for over 7 decades. I remembered that smile from my childhood visits, how it had seemed friendly then, welcoming. The way it seemed now, as we pulled into the crumbling parking lot, was different. The massive cutout of Sonny's face above the entrance had weathered poorly, its once bright paint now peeling to reveal gray patches underneath, like decay breaking through skin. The lot was nearly empty, which should have been our first warning. It was a Saturday in July, peak season for any theme park. But here, only a scattered handful of cars sat baking in the summer heat, their windows reflecting the clouded sky above. The air felt wrong too. You expect certain smells at a theme park: popcorn, sugar, sunscreen. Instead, there was this underlying mustiness, like old books left too long in a damp basement. Maya didn't seem to notice, already pulling her camera from her bag, excitedly pointing out the vintage signage. James was checking the park map, plotting our route with his usual methodical precision. But I felt it immediately, that crawling sensation at the base of my skull that signals something amiss. The pavement beneath our feet was cracked, with weeds pushing through like desperate fingers reaching for air. The entrance music playing through hidden speakers seemed slightly out of tune, as if the notes were being stretched just a fraction too long. The teenager at the ticket booth barely looked at us as she processed our payments. Her name tag read Sarah, but it was faded, the letters almost illegible. Her movements were mechanical, rehearsed, but her eyes, I'll never forget her eyes. They seemed to focus on something far beyond us, something that made her hands tremble slightly as she handed over our tickets. Enjoy your stay, she said, her voice flat.
Remember
to smile. Sonny's always watching. It wasn't the standard theme park greeting I remembered. There was something almost pleading in her tone, a warning wrapped in corporate pleasantry. The park itself was a study in decay, barely masked by desperate attempts at maintenance. Fresh paint had been applied haphazardly over rusting metal, creating strange patterns that reminded me of bruises. The carousel horses' eyes seemed to follow our movement, their painted-on smiles at odds with their worn and pockmarked bodies. Even the piped-in music felt wrong, cheerful tunes that occasionally slipped into discordant notes like a music box with damaged gears. We wandered through the park trying to ignore the growing sense of wrongness. Maya's enthusiasm had dimmed somewhat, her camera hanging unused around her neck. James had grown quiet, his eyes darting between the empty food stalls and the eerily still rides. The few other visitors we saw moved quickly, heads down, as if trying to avoid drawing attention to themselves. It was James who suggested we try the Starfall Caverns ride. "It's the park's oldest attraction," he said, consulting his phone. "Says here, it's been running continuously since opening day." He did mention the local news articles that appeared further down in his search. The ones about disappearances, about strange noises heard late at night, about employees who quit without notice, leaving behind only cryptic warnings scrawled in breakroom notebooks. The ride's entrance was tucked away in a corner of the park, partially hidden behind overgrown shrubbery. The sign above it flickered intermittently, casting strange shadows on the concrete path. A single employee stood at the loading dock. Another teenager, though something about their stillness made them seem ancient. They didn't speak as we approached, simply gesturing to an empty boat with a movement that seemed too fluid, too practiced. The boat itself was showing its age. The blue paint was chipped and faded, revealing patches of gray underneath that looked almost like bare flesh. The water it floated on was dark, unnaturally still, with an oily sheen that caught the light in ways that made my stomach turn. As we settled into our seats, I noticed scratches on the handrail. Not random vandalism, but words carved with desperate precision. "Don't look back." "Welcome home," it said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We've been waiting so long for you to return." The boat lurched backward, the sudden movement nearly throwing us into the dark water. As we were pulled deeper into unlit portions of the ride, I saw more figures emerging from the shadows, more costumes, more twisted versions of Sunny, each more degraded and wrong than the last. They lined the shores, their heads turning in perfect unison to track our movement. The walls around us were covered in photographs, hundreds of them, depicting visitors throughout the decades. In every single one, somewhere in the background stood a figure in a Sunny costume, watching. And in each successive photo, it stood closer to the subjects, its costume becoming more decrepit, its pose more predatory. When we finally emerged into daylight, bursting out of an emergency exit instead of the proper ending, none of the employees seemed surprised. They didn't react to our panic,
Sunny
to
is
our
crazy!
gasped
Help!
descriptions of what we'd seen. They simply continued their duties,
Oh my God!
their movements mechanical, their eyes never quite meeting ours. We fled the park, but Evergrande Kingdom wasn't done with us. In the weeks that followed, I began noticing things, strange memorabilia from the park appearing in my home, though I'd bought nothing, the distant sound of that warped music late at night, glimpses of a tall figure with a star-shaped head in my peripheral vision. I've tried researching the park's history since then, diving deep into local archives and forgotten forums. I found stories, so many stories. Missing persons reports spanning decades, all with one common thread: last seen at or near Evergrande Kingdom. Maintenance logs describing equipment operating itself after hours. Security footage that showed empty costume suits moving through closed buildings. 3 weeks after leaving Evergrande Kingdom, I finally felt safe enough to unpack the photos from our trip. The images were wrong, all of them. Where I remembered taking pictures of James and Maya laughing on the carousel, the photos showed them with vacant, glassy stares. Where I remembered capturing the colorful parade, the images revealed a procession of shabby, moth-eaten costumes in broad daylight. But it was the final photo that made my blood freeze. It showed all three of us standing at the park entrance, but our faces were painted with the same forced smile as Sunny the Star. Our eyes were black buttons. Our skin had the waxy sheen of animatronics. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone to call James, but I stopped when I saw my reflection in the black screen. My smile was too wide, stretching impossibly beyond the corners of my mouth. When I tried to frown, my face wouldn't respond. That's when I understood. We had never left Evergrande Kingdom. The escape, the drive home, the past 3 weeks of normal life, it was all part of the attraction. The park didn't just feed on nostalgia, it created it, building elaborate scenarios to keep visitors trapped in artificial memories while our bodies remained inside, slowly transforming into the very attractions we had once enjoyed. I tried to scream, but only heard the tinkling melody of a music box. Outside my window, I could see other houses on my street, but now I noticed they were all identical. The same false storefronts I had seen lining the park's main street. My neighbors waved from their porches with mechanical precision, their painted smiles never wavering. In the distance, I could hear Sunny, the star's cheerful voice echoing from invisible speakers, "Welcome to Evergrande Kingdom, where the magic never ends and childhood lasts forever." I looked down at my hands and watched as my fingertips began to stiffen into plastic. Soon, I would take my place among the attractions, helping to trap the next group of visitors who came seeking the innocence they had lost.
The magic never ends, and childhood lasts forever. Ha 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 ha.
I should have been celebrating. O'Banion was the thorn in our organization's side, the Irish bastard who thought he could muscle in on Capone territory and live to tell about it. When Scalise, Anselmi, and Frankie Yale walked into his flower shop 4 days ago, they were carrying more than just a floral order. They were carrying justice, Chicago style. I should have been drunk on bootleg whiskey, counting my cut of the North Side territory we'd just inherited. Instead, I was sitting in my apartment chain-smoking Lucky Strikes and jumping every time the radiator clanked, because I knew Dion was coming for me. Say I'm the one who set him up. 3 weeks before his death, I walked into Schofield's flower shop at 738 North State Street, like any other customer looking to send condolences. Dion was behind the counter, his hand surprisingly gentle as he arranged white lilies in a funeral spray. People always forgot that O'Banion was as much florist as he was gangster, maybe more so. "Vinnie Torino," he said without looking up, those pale blue eyes of his focused on the flowers. "Capone's boy. What brings you to my store?" I'd known Dion since we were kids on the North Side, back when we used to steal apples from the same grocery stores and run from the same cops, before territory lines and ethnic pride turned us into enemies. "Got a job for you, Dion," I said, placing a roll of bills on the counter. "Mike Merlot's burial needs flowers, lots of them. Capone wants to show proper respect." Merlot was the head of the Unione Siciliana, and his death had left a power vacuum that everyone was scrambling to fill. The event would be a who's who of Chicago crime, and flowers from O'Banion's shop were considered the classiest in the city. What I didn't tell Dion was that Capone had already chosen Merlot's replacement, Angelo Jenna. And what I really didn't tell him was that when Dion came to deliver the flowers personally, as he always did for big orders, Scalise and the boys would be waiting. "Always happy to serve," Dion said, pocketing the money. "I'll make sure Mike gets a proper send-off." He looked up at me then, and for just a moment I saw something in his eyes. Not suspicion exactly, but a kind of sad understanding. Like he knew this was how it would end, had always known, and was almost relieved that the waiting was finally over. "You know, Vinny," he said quietly, "I always liked you, even after you chose sides. That should have been my cue to walk away, to tell Capone the whole thing was off, that maybe we could find another way to handle the O'Banion problem. Instead, I tipped my hat and walked out of that flower shop, leaving my childhood friend to tend to his own floral arrangements. I was on my third whiskey when the knocking started. Not the urgent pounding of cops or the confident rap of fellow gangsters. This was something else. Slow, deliberate, like someone had all the time in the world. Knock, knock, knock. "Who is it?" I called out, my hand moving instinctively to the .38 in my shoulder holster. No answer, just the sound of November wind rattling the windows of my 6th-floor apartment. Knock, knock, knock. I stubbed out my lucky strike and walked to the door, every nerve in my body screaming that I should grab my coat and run. But where could I run to? If Dion O'Banion wanted to find me, being dead wasn't going to slow him down much. I looked through the peephole and saw nothing but empty hallway. Knock, knock, knock. This time the sound came from behind me. I spun around to see my bedroom door shaking on its hinges as if someone inside was trying to get out. But I lived alone, and I checked every room twice when I got home. "Dion?" I whispered to the empty apartment. The knocking stopped. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees in as many seconds. My breath turned into fog in the suddenly Arctic air. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely, leaving me in darkness broken only by the glow of Chicago's neon signs bleeding through the windows. That's when I smelled them. Flowers. White lilies, to be exact. The same ones Dion had been arranging the last time I saw him alive. He materialized slowly, like a photograph developing in solution. First just a shadow in the corner of my living room, then the outline of a man. Finally the full figure of Dion O'Banion himself, looking exactly as he had in life, except for the 3 bullet holes in his chest that wet blood like stigmata. Dion moved closer, his ghostly form flickering like candlelight. "You know what I learned in all my years, Vinny? Time. Time is the real secret that flowers teach you." He gestured, and the air around us shimmered, showing glimpses of past and future overlapping like double-exposed photographs. See, people think time moves in a straight line, past, present, future, but flowers know better. They die every winter and come back every spring. Same flower, different bloom. Death isn't an ending, Vinny. It's just a season. His pale eyes reflected depths I couldn't fathom. In my shop, I used to arrange flowers for the same families, generation after generation. Weddings, funerals, births, deaths, all the same cycles over and over, and I started to see the pattern. Suddenly the room filled with ghostly images, children growing old men becoming children, violence begetting violence in an endless loop. Every act of betrayal, every moment of greed, every choice that puts profit over loyalty, it all echoes backward and forward through time. You think you set me up 3 weeks ago, but the truth is, this moment has been happening forever. Dion smiled, and in his expression I saw infinite sadness and infinite patience. The real joke, Vinny, is that we're all gardeners, and we're all flowers. You planted the seeds of my death, but you never wondered what kind of harvest would grow from that soil. The visions intensified. I saw myself as a child, stealing apples with young Dion. I saw our deaths and our births, and our deaths again, an eternal cycle of friendship and betrayal. Do you understand now? This isn't revenge, Vinny. This is cultivation. We're both just plants in someone else's garden. And tonight the gardener has come to tend his crop. He reached toward me with hands that seemed to exist in all times at once. The beautiful thing about flowers, my old friend, is that even when you cut them down, the roots remain. And roots always remember where they came from.
my garden where the roses used to grow. Summer's fading and the autumn winds blow, but I found one bloom still dancing in the light, a crimson beauty shining oh so bright. Gonna pick that flower for my sweetie dear, hold it close until she draws me near. It's the last one left before the frost comes down, the prettiest flower in this whole dang town. Oh, the last flower in my garden bed, like the love that's dancing in my...
It flows much deeper than the surface tells, beyond what anyone could ever quell. The void between two souls in gravity, too wide to cross, too close to set you free. Is it beyond